Hey everybody, this is Informed the Confused. I'm Alan.
And I'm Nick. Welcome back to our Star Trek Discovery React series.
Yep. Today we are doing episode 4.
I am so glad you're invested in that. I can't say it enough. Like, I was truly worried that you would just dig in and give it that stubbornness that I know you have.
For some reason, like, Star Trek is the one fandom that I'm really, really into that I'm not hyper defensive about in certain ways. Like, I am perfectly willing to rip into Star Trek in a way I'm not willing to do in Star Wars or Ruby or other things. I have no idea why, especially since this is the fandom I've been part of the longest. So it's weird.
I have a theory that I'd like to share and then hit play. I think it's that you've had this the longest. You've played with it the most in your own head. Mm-hmm. So it's already the most malleable and the most ready to accept new ideas and ingredients. The others are finished, baked-in products that you haven't had the time to really pick apart and play with the same way. Mm-hmm. I truly feel it's a function of time, much like how I'm perfectly willing taking the more extraneous bits of Star Wars lore at this point in my journey as a Star Wars fan and embrace that rather than the canon that everybody else is firing off left, right, and center.
Yeah. I will say I do think I have a little bit of a contrarian streak because if you look at my opinions on all three of those fandoms and where they line up with stuff, they do tend to fall into that line of being contrarian to the quote unquote popular opinions sometimes. But
you're just complicated. It's why we like you.
You know, the previous episode definitely got me like seriously much more engaged.
And that is the start of the more traditional Star Trek story. We're very much more into Adventure of the Week, with the B plot being an overriding thing across episodes.
Well, the odd thing is, I'm liking it more because it's taking on a somewhat of a less traditional Trek tone. It's more DS9. It's more late DS9. They're at war. There's the whole issue of the ends justifying the means type thing going on, and it's got a little bit more darker tone to it, which I actually like in Trek.
I appreciate that in anything simply because I'm a firm believer that if you're going to tell all these stories about the light, anywhere there's light, there's a shadow. There is another story at play. You just didn't tell it. Okay, this answers your question about whether or not they actually have replicators, because I remember what this pan-out shot is.
So, yes.
Yeah, no, they definitely have replicators of some varietal. But, like, with the shelves and, like, the doors, like, I fully thought that just meant, like, it was an older model that's, like, not as safe, and it's, like, a built-in safety feature. It's like, keep your hands out of the materialization bay. Are you trying to fuse with foreign matter?
I mean, at least it looks a little like it's a specialized custom thing. It's a thing that specifically produces uniforms. As opposed to a replicator you can just ask for fucking anything and get anything out of.
The way replicators always seemed to function was that it was literally no different than a transporter.
Yeah, the only difference is you're reassembling it in a different form than it started as.
Fair, but it's a case of, are you telling me...
It's the same basic technology.
Well, you're telling me you couldn't just start with a big block of carbon and start breaking that down into other constituent forms of matter?
I mean,
like, that just seems like basic chemistry.
That's how replicators work. There's a cargo of replicator matter, raw matter, base matter, and that gets converted into whatever you want. Yeah.
Did you miss what was in the box?
Apparently.
The last will and testament of Philippa Georgiou.
Okay.
And it's just going to keep beeping till she opens it. That is my favorite side thing in this episode. They establish 5 seconds in, it's just going to keep beeping till you open it. I do think Saru is the final logical extension of a universe where they establish psychic power fucking exists and is a biological trait. Limited precognition based on threat. Like, holy shit. He has spider sense. And he's better looking than Tobey Maguire. So, I mean...
All right. They said birds of prey. Let's see what these birds of prey look like.
Herons?
All right.
Mostly on fire by the looks of it.
Hold on. I can't get a good look at them, but what I can tell, they mostly look fairly accurate.
It looks like a central bridge and then sweeping wings off the ass. I'm telling you, dirty cowboy vibes. I know you don't feel them, but I really do. He's got that outlaw swagger. Okay, just join me in a mental exercise for a minute. Picture a gun belt and a 6-shooter on his hip. Just envision it. Does it seem that out of place?
I mean, it is hard to picture just because of the environment he's in. You know, let me pull a bill and relate this to D&D.
Fair.
It looks like he's a level 15 like science character who took 1 level in cowboy.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. I like all the redesigned Klingon weapons.
I like that he has a bat lift in his in there. I don't like what it looks like. Not at all. I like that. I dislike that more than I dislike the look of the Klingons themselves or the ships. That is just no. Yeah, like aren't those like half moon looking things supposed to be mechlefs?
I'm not sure.
Because they aren't. They really aren't. No, not those. There were a couple of, like, blades. They were like crescents, and they were like there's like 2 of them like this, spinning and.
Well, that's a real Starfleet officer right there. Water bears. My man. Perfect amount of dick. So was it 46 seconds at the start of your comment or the end?
I'm wondering why they can't make a series of short jumps.
Presumably there's a cooldown time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not how they end up using it, but I mean...
It has to be a hell of a cooldown time if their jumps are instantaneous for it to be longer than it would take for them to just get there on a normal warp. But
I do find it to be an interesting choice to paint the Klingons as more of a religious society.
I mean, they are. There is that aspect to them.
Right, but it always seemed before this that the physical world mattered more to them. Yes, they always had the ethereal concept of honor that they were always digging for.
They have a religion all that. It's like any other. It varies. There are Klingon religious fanatics. There's always been Klingon religious fanatics who believe certain things. Voyager gives you an example of that.
Plot definition 2. I don't remember them calling Black Alert.
No, they didn't.
That's got to be some kind of security violation, right? It seems crazy that they can get that close to a sun and pull up.
They do it with a bird of prey in DS9.
Yeah, but the Klingons build their shit tough. This is a namby-pamby science vessel.
I was going to say there's 100 years in the future, too, but more than.
They're all mad at Lorca because they made their science vessel a warship.
And the Defiant's an escort, technically.
I would absolutely say it's an escort, and you usually put a big gun on an escort because they're more nimble with the shit. No. I like the chief medical officer a lot, too. He's pretty cool. It seems really inappropriate to play the ship wide. I mean, I get that this is supposed to be, the appeal to the crew to be like, fight like hell, but there's no way everyone on that ship is totally mentally sound. They're in a war. Yeah. Some people are going to be dealing with shit. You have a bunch of people who are vets of the Battle of the Binary Stars. You got some shit going on this vessel. Yeah, I think that knife she had there is supposed to be the traditional Klingon ceremonial dagger. I'm also going to throw us out there. There's a very real possibility that some of those knives are not Klingon in origin.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, the batleth there very clearly is the new design of the batleth, but...
Yeah.
Well, that's like an alien armory. That's shit that he's collected that got used on him, which
Ooh,
in and
that's
of
bad.
itself is impressive.
I don't think
Wasn't quick enough with
Yeah.
the hypo spray. The question there is he mad about losing a friend, a security officer, or an asset at war?
probably all three.
See, I don't think it can possibly be all three. That's an all or nothing man. That's a guy who goes and plays roulette and just bets on 00. Like, it's one of those things, I'm kind of not sure with her because, like, that is the one member of the crew that you really see him, like, talking with, bringing into his bubble. Like, you don't see him playing games with her. You see him, like, pulling her into the office and being like, hey, look what I got. Just all the tech in this is so polished, which, like, I understand how that can be infuriating to people who loved the original, because this looks nothing like any of the original. Where's a tubby Scotsman when you need him? Yeah, I would even settle for a short Russian.
God.
Dude, Klingon flirting. You know, for Klingon foreplay, there's surprisingly little knife play and shockingly little blood
I
loss.
was gonna say they're even not getting the Klingon flirting like right. Like it shouldn't be this subtle.
One of them should throw a punch. Probably her, if we're being real honest. She's the one who's going to be mounting in this scenario. Let's be frank.
She is clearly the aggressor, as the Klingons would define it in this situation. So yeah.
Burn. Yeah, like, are you starting to see why I like Saru? He's got a fun sarcasm. He kind of feels to me like the way Spock played in the original series, where he's just sort of a foil to every good idea. God, bitches Starfleet to the core. That is another like thing that I feel this does a better job than other Trek series, outlining duty, the idea of a devotion to a cause. Because like they all play lip service to it, but this one they got characters that are living it. See, if she still had the chief of security, that's when like gunfire erupts.
Yeah.
Yep, Tilly was totally indispensable to that. There's no way that would have worked without Tilly in the room.
Well, it's good to have a witness.
Oh, true. Plus, I'm fairly
That too.
certain Michael doesn't actually have clearance to take the spores. I'm fairly certain Tilly does.
Yeah.
Especially because the way it's painted, like, even though she's, you know, like the lowest ranked of the crew, like, it seems like she's yeah, like, it seems like she's Stammen's, like, direct assistant. Like, it seems like they assigned her to this ship for this job. Don't hate me, but I'm fixing the skips.
Now that looked kind of Spock-like. He didn't raise an eyebrow, but it did have that kind of vibe to it. I think the communicators are the thing they've gotten most accurate in this show.
I wonder how many mushrooms he conversed with at the university. See, I wish the show hadn't been as divisive as it was, because if not, we would totally have, like, plushies of Ripper. Nerds are weird, folks. See, she bites into it like she's hungry, and then Hollywood eats it with little chews, because it's like, I don't want to take that big bite 80 takes in a row. I love any I love any sequence where people are eating in a film or television, because the drinks change heights, the food position changes, because it's Frankencuts. Every charted star system. I like how at no point was he like, and I don't know what these three are. Just like, nope, all of the known ones.
Yeah, up close they look a little less.
The wings are a little more swept forward.
They have a bird-like look to them. They are birds of prey in that sense. But then,
God, you are so hard to please.
not really.
Just have to do the Klingons your way.
Well, no, it's not like my way. It's not like I'm asking them to create something brand new and then criticizing the hell out of it. They have an existing thing. All they had to do was use the existing thing. Not that complicated. It's actually more work to come up with something new.
So just remember, kids, according to Alan, never try hard.
Do or do not. There is no try. You either do Star Trek right or you don't do it right. You don't try.
I was going with the context of my exact wording. So just do hard, huh?
So now as we get into the morality of, oh my God, it's a sentient living being. We can't do this anymore.
Gee, it's almost like you've seen a Star Trek property before. Now that looks like some Klingon foreplay. Kinky.
I mean, at this point, he doesn't seem to have much left.
Yeah, which means this is the perfect time to buy in. This is the lowest cost of entry he's ever gonna have. Yeah, that look tells you the plot of the rest of the episode right there. And there's the beep. The mystery box literally won't let you forget it. I don't know why it amuses me so much that the box just continues to make noise. Like, there's not a mute option. There's no... Nope, it just does. Did it do that the whole way there? Did the delivery guy have to listen to that from the back of the shuttle pod the entire trip?
It's something from the contemporary era, I'm going to guess. Something from
When
our era.
isn't it? They're how many hundreds of years in the future and still prancing about doing Shakespeare? Come on. Because of course it has to be motorized. God forbid you use your hands to open a fucking box in the future. And that's the thing. It's not even like a convenient open speed. That's the slow, dramatic reveal speed.
Oh, a telescope. It's
Yeah,
a telescope.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was nicer before the Shenzhou blew up, but you know.
It's a pretty solid episode. Very Trek. While simultaneously being very not Trek.
I get the feeling that's got to be a synopsis from you for a while.
I mean, not in a bad way. Like I said, I'm not somebody who minds when Trek goes dark. That has never bothered me.
So the big question, how do you feel about the mycelial network and this form of instant transmission across the galaxy now being part of Star Trek lore? I mean, it's a super divisive thing. This is the episode where they make it work, so we have to talk about it.
I mean, well, that concept in and of itself doesn't bother me. The mycelial network, the idea that there's this spore network that already exists across the entire galaxy, right? That is what they're getting at. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, like microscopic and quantumly entangled to explain how it's all connected. Yeah.
I mean, it's not the most.
It's not the dumbest thing I've ever heard on Trek.
Like. It uses.
It's not like that weird spire that Odo found that never mattered again.
All right. Oh, the thing on the planet where they found the little alien life.
Yeah, like season 2, I believe. It's stupid early.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, they never explain it explicitly. I've always just interpreted that as that was in a very, very ancient early Dominion outpost. Or a settlement of the ancient founders in their earliest civilization or something like that.
I always assumed it was a series of rewrites that made it an unused plot point.
Tomato, tomato.
Justifications of a fan versus someone just watching a show.
The line between justification and explanation is a very thin one.
I mean, that's fair. That is fair, because the explanation at the end of the day is always just going to be a plot dump. Like,
Yeah. But no, as far as the spore drive thing, like the existence of something like that in and of itself doesn't bother me. Like I said, that kind of warp drive. It's not the first time they've tried to do something like that. Nothing will be dumber than the thing where in Voyager when Paris goes warp 10. Using a regular.
hey, he got a commemorative plate for doing that. Worth it.
Yeah. He also turned into this weird alien thing, and like I don't even remember exactly where it went because I watched the episode once and never went back to it again. And I've never been tempted to because anytime anyone ever mentions that episode, it's probably more loathed than the last episode of Enterprise. At least the last half of that episode, but because it gets weird. But when he does that, he exists in every point in the universe simultaneously for a moment. That is no more bizarre than this.
See, to
it's
me,
far more
to me
bizarre
that
than
truly
this.
fucks with the law of conservation of mass.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, that's the whole point is they do something that causes them to exist in a state of reality that exists on a plane of existence where the normal rules of physics don't apply.
And Trek is already a big fan of parallel dimensions. They go out of their way for that shit.
But I mean, like my brain is actually the nerd in me is actually starting to come up with like ways to explain this using a 3-dimensional object bisecting a 2-dimensional plane. But
that ain't our audience, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's Star Trek. You never know.
And this is informed and confused.
Overlap. I don't know. Like a 3-dimensional object in a 2-dimensional plane.
Dunning-Kruger effect is a thing. We might trick a smart person into liking us. I see how it is.
No, but the thing that irks me about this is the idea that this is something that exists and nobody's detected it yet. If it's a galaxy-wide thing, it exists everywhere. Nobody's even remotely vaguely figured this out yet.
Well, that's just it. I think it's that it's a new modality. Like, I don't think it's that nobody's thought of it or nobody's aware of it. I think it's that nobody thought it could be used this way, so nobody was trying to. Stamets just kind of figured this out because he was working on something in parallel and found causation. I mean, which in and of itself is kind of a cop-out justification, but I don't think it's terribly wrong.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not the worst thing. I mean, it's the idea of instantaneous travel is not an unusual one in sci-fi. Battlestar Galactica, their drives work like that as a matter of course. That's just how they work.
Yeah,
although the only way they work.
Although, to my understanding, they explain that through the loose concept of dimensional folding, though, don't they?
They never get really heavy into the explanations of the technology in Battlestar Galactica.
Honestly, that's one of its strong suits.
Yeah,
they
don't
stick to
bog
story.
Down. Yeah, they don't bog down in that shit in that franchise.
See, honestly, that's actually something that I would say is a fair thing to say about Discovery in general, because while we're going through this fantastic new technology that's completely new to the franchise, completely new to anyone watching, but we're not like bogged down and lost in it. There's other aspects to it.
I do find it interesting we're spending as much time with the Klingons as we are. That was not an aspect of the show I was familiar with coming into this.
The Klingons are a big part of this. They don't necessarily figure in week to week, but they're always there. They're sort of an ever-present threat, which honestly I feel is like the role they served in the original series, where it's just like, no, we're not going to get in a fight with a Klingon every week. That's unrealistic. But are the Klingons always just, one drop out of warp away? Absolutely. Yeah. I feel it's like how the Romulans function in Next Generation, or how the Borg end up functioning. It's like,
they're antagonists.
They're
is
primary it omnipresent? Yeah, but it's not the only thing. Like, it feels more realistic that way. Like, nothing is ever just an endless slog. There is always an up and down.
Well, no, because they're actually at war with the Federation. That's even in the original series, that was never the case. Except for the whole Organian thing, but that only lasted like a week or something. But because the Organians put a stop to it. But anyways, it did feel a little more Trek Star Trek-y, with the whole thing of figuring out the spore drive and how the alien tied into it and using the alien in that way, and it was a good solid little story there. Warping off to rescue a colony under attack by Klingons is a very Star Trek thing to do.
Oh, exceptionally Star Trek.
I don't like that they said that the Federation gets like 40% of their dilithium from this one mine. that rubs me the wrong way for some reason. Like really? But
they can't have all the dilithium, Alan. Well, okay, I'd like to point out anytime you start talking like the resources of a nation state, usually you've got a primary source for whatever resource you're talking about, and that is the absolute backbone of what you got. And then you have some support lines because the simple idea of trying to fuel an entire nation off of one source is ludicrous.
Well, no, the idea that 40% of the dilithium that the Federation or at least Starfleet needs is found entirely on one planet.
Well, I don't think it's
that number.
Well, I don't think it's that weird because what is it, like 70% of the petrol in the U.S. comes out of the Middle East? Like, that don't seem all that weird to me. I mean, I've seen similar resource spreads here.
I guess it depends on how. All right, they said 40% of the dilithium in the Federation, right? Is
yes.
That what I said? Now, if that means that everybody in the Federation, 40% of their consumption comes from that one planet, that means for civilian use, domestic use, Starfleet use, all those things, then that means hundreds of planets use one of the single most used resources in the galaxy, all coming from one planet.
Well, okay.
Very, very...
Allow me to devil's advocate for a moment here, because I think I might be able to explain this in a logical way. What if the planet in and of itself is just a dilithium source? A large one. A good one. Maybe not the biggest, but
it's a giant chunk of dilithium?
But it is an excellent source. And then because of the... Hang on.
Admittedly, dilithium is a fictional substance, so it's kind of hard to...
We've got to go on a little bit of a journey here, but I'm gonna build this up for you, okay?
Okay.
Based on the basic infrastructure that would have propped up around the mine to process it, ship it out, what if that location was a relatively early prospect, so it ends up being one of the more developed, so it ends up becoming a shipping hub for the general area. So maybe all of the dilithium coming through there isn't sourced there, but maybe it's all getting refined there. Or maybe it's a massive distribution center built off of a large mine. There's any number of ways to explain in a long supply chain why things would be routed through a single location.
Given the way they phrased it, though, I think that's
what
you're saying is a stretch.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm advocating for the devil, and you're a Christian. This was always going to be a hard sell.
Yeah, no, that's logistically that seems a little.
I don't think it's the
weird.
most far-fetched thing. I honestly think a resource hub could account for that. In terms of a single source or mine,
it that way, though.
I would agree, but like
they describe it as a single source mine, though. That is what is described to the extent that it is described in the episode. To me, the easiest way to rationalize that, if we're going to do it, would be to say that the source of dilithium for all the Starfleet ships in the Federation. If you restricted to just Starfleet use,
if it was a military mine type of deal, like it's an application for that, maybe.
Then the number of ships you're talking about, depending on the exact amount, I mean, it would still have to be a lot of fucking dilithium.
Well, if you're trying to,
but that's more a more believable.
Well, if you pull it into two separate fleet ideas, the civilian fleet and then the militaristic edge of Starfleet. At that point, 40% from a single source doesn't seem weird. Because, for how long was the U.S. Army running purely off the strategic stockpile?
I mean, that's kind of a hard analogy because you're going from a nation-state, comparing a nation-state's resources to the resources of multi-planetary organization.
I'm just trying to compare it to what I'm trying to compare it to what we got at home.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if you're just talking about Starfleet, then I can buy it. If it's all of the Federation, it's like the difference between saying the U.S. military gets all their oil from this spot versus everybody in the United States gets their oil from this spot.
Which
it's a vastly different number.
Yeah, no, because we definitely source stuff domestically. As much as we say we've capped off things in the Gulf, no, that still produces oil.
Well, no,
we get a ton of shit from Canadian oil sands. Like, no.
You take the number of, the amount that the Army uses versus the amount all 300 million Americans use.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah. Aside from that, I mean, it was. I continue to like the thematic direction they're going in here.
Do you have any characters that are standing out for you yet?
To be perfectly honest, it's a little hard to form opinions on the characters where I'm getting an ear. I have this earworm in one ear, like basically giving me a synopsis of everybody's.
I could have sworn in this universe
character,
they were ear eels.
But like I'm being fed an opinion and analysis of the character before I even see them do anything. So I kind of.
I'm trying to stick to only what traits they display when I discuss them. Like I point things out when they do a thing that exemplifies something of their character, and that's why I.
You also analyze characters and things in shows, often in a way that's different than I do.
Well, I like that our brains work different.
A lot of what you've said, like a lot of the stuff you said about like why you like Saru and all that. It's like, I wouldn't have picked up on any of that whatsoever if you hadn't just said it. I still don't necessarily.
He gets increasingly more screen time episode to episode,
Well,
but it's a case of...
Even when you're analyzing the things he's actually saying in the moment, it's like, my brain wasn't going that deep on that, dude. Like, you are like going Inception levels of shit here, and I'm just lightly sleeping, okay?
I like that. So the top didn't even wobble, just immediately to the floor. Stop dead. Didn't even roll to like a crease in the floorboards, just stopped.
Barely needed a kick. Did not think this would end on an Inception analogy, but...
Cue the sound of an elevator thumping.
All right, anyways, I continue to look forward to the next episode. I saw the thing with the female cleaning coming a mile away. The fact he wasn't actually betraying him. Right. That was pretty...
I do really love the sequence where she just immediately goes and grabs the food, because it was just... This wasn't one of those times where, like, when I was watching it, I called, like, oh, this is a fake out. This is a double cross on double cross. Like, I didn't call that, but just the amount of hilarity, too. No. The ultimate survival instinct, any species, any culture, doesn't matter. When your stomach is empty, that's the only thing you give a fuck about. She fixes that and then immediately is back to her priorities.
I hate to say it, because at this point it's becoming beyond cliche, but she didn't even eat particularly Klingon. She ate wrong.
True, that was cooked meat.
That wasn't explicitly what I was talking about, but you're right. Thank you for catching the
for justifying your rage.
No, for catching the inconsistencies that I'm missing.
See, this is why we work, buddy.
Thank you for helping with my criticism.
Because I just laugh it off, and you're like, yes, you fueled me.
You know the thing I'm loving most about this? I'm taking the role that you normally take when I'm watching. I show you shit. The only difference here is you're just loving it. Normally, I'd be sitting there red-faced, but ready to punch you in the fucking teeth.
All right,
you do it.
Nothing's ever going to top when we watched Battlestar Galactica. We just need to make peace with it.
You mean the ending?
I mean, if we had a camera rolling for that, or when they just brick shit dropped the Galactica into Atmo.
Oh, the Adama maneuver.
Yeah, no, that shit. Oh.
No. The peak moment of this dynamic will always be Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 10.
Wait, Episode 10? It's so not my criticism of the dragons in the first episode?
That's Episode 10.
Oh, is that Episode 10?
The last episode of the season.
Oh, was that?
There are no dragons.
I haven't watched it since we watched it.
Yeah, no, that is the season finale. But yes,
okay.
The dragons. The goddamn sound of the dragon.
Okay. As much as this is a Trek thing, we now have to explain this, and this is where we'll end it because we are now as far off as humanly possible. When Alan and I watched Game of Thrones, Alan got me into it. I was very resistant to the idea of Game of Thrones. And this is where Alan found out that I watch shit wrong. One of our early ideas for a show was Nick watches shit wrong. Because it was genuinely hilarious, the difference in our takes. But the scene he is specifically referencing is when Daenerys throws herself on Khal Drogo's funeral pyre. At the end of the first season, apparently. Yeah. I thought it was earlier than that, but okay. End of the first season.
Obviously, spoilers for Game of Thrones if you haven't seen it yet. But if you haven't, what the hell is wrong with you?
Them.
There's. If you haven't seen it by now and aren't,
you get 1 year of grace, and that is more than kind.
Yeah. Anyways.
But in any case, so we're watching this, and like my argument is, no one in that camp who's been watching this funeral pyre burn all night, watched a young woman throw herself on it, watched dragon eggs get thrown on it. None of them at any point in the light of this fire see that A, Daenerys is not burning. At no point do they notice that. And at no point do they notice that, oh, hey, those dragon eggs hatched, because apparently the dragons are stone fucking silent until the dramatic sun-up reveal as it crests over the fucking mountains in the distance. No. This is too much bullshit at once. No. The first thing every single organism does when it's born is scream. That is how you open your lungs. The dragons are not immune to biological fact. And furthermore, no one's eyesight is so shitty that a woman sitting in a raging inferno is invisible to them. It's not possible. It's not possible. And even once it died down to like regular campfire levels, that's not casting enough light for you to see, oh, hey, she didn't burn when that was like a fucking barn fire. I'm done now.
You say, anybody who thought watching this at this point that I was kind of like being overly critical, you just completely reset the bar.
I was actually probably nicer and more understanding in the moment. Like, I don't think I even got that worked up when it was happening. I think I just shouted bullshit.
Well, part of it is also, this has just become a thing in our group now. Yeah, it's been built up into this giant thing now.
Makes no goddamn sense. Why is Chewbacca living on Endor? Makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah, on that note, that's it for today, I think. Yeah. So
YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud.
Yep.
Like,
subscribe, comment, notification bell.
Feed that algorithm so we can keep feeding you content.
Yep. We are Informed and Confused. I'm Alan.
I've been Nick. Live long and prosper.